Hello there, very good evening to all of you and welcome to News Tonight with me, Tracy Shilchi. 30 minutes of the day's top developing stories from India and across the world. And of course, no surprise, we're going to be talking the railway budget. Is it actually realistic or are we going to be slipping further into a debt trap? We'll get all details of that in a bit. But first, the headlines. No new trains, no passenger fare hikes. Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu makes a pitch for ending the vicious cycle of underinvestment in railways. Consumer-focused speech and references to Swachh Bharat, Digital India and Make in India fail to cheer the markets. Sensex tanks nearly 300 points. Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls it watershed moment for the railways, but NDA allies and opposition trash it. Mixed reactions also from the industry. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu clarifies after angry opposition forces adjournments in Parliament over his remarks on Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi. And Afghanistan registers its first win in the World Cup cricket, shocks Scotland in the final over to claim victory with 1 wicket and 3 balls to spare. But our top story, no increase in passenger fares, no new trains and a focus on the government's flagship Swachh Bharat scheme are the big takeaways from the railway budget for 2015-16 that was presented in Parliament today. Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu announced investment of 8.5 lakh crores in the railways over the next 5 years, emphasizing that the vicious cycle of underinvestment that has bled the railways must end. Here's a report.
We have prepared a forward-looking agenda. Over the next 5 years, Railway has to go through transformation. We have fixed 4 goals for ourselves. Goal number 1, to deliver a sustained and measurable improvement in customer experience. We are launching initiatives that will systematically address customer concerns about cleanliness, comfort, accessibility, service quality and speed of train.
The Railway Minister expanded this with a stress on raising cleanliness levels, safety, capacity building and modernization of infrastructure and perhaps most keenly watched, making Bharatiya Rail financially self-sustainable. Prominently, Prabhu announced no raise in passenger fares and no new trains. Among the budgetary highlights, planned expenditure to go up to a record 1.1 lakh crore rupees in 2015-16 from an estimated 61,500 crore rupees in 2014-15. Outlay for passenger amenities increased by 67%. Amenities include Wi-Fi at more stations, e-catering, on-board entertainment facilities, speedier availability of tickets, 120-day advance booking, more general class coaches, railway helpline and more. There was also a strong emphasis on modernizing infrastructure, better tracks, high-speed trains and revamping and redevelopment of stations.
We will partner with PSUs to ensure that sufficient capacity is built to transport critical commodities like coal, iron and cement from where they are extracted or imported to where they are consumed or processed. We will partner with multilateral and bilateral organizations and other governments to gain access to long-term financing and technology from overseas. We will also partner with the private sector to improve last mile connectivity, expand our fleet of rolling stock and modernize our station infrastructure.
Speed passenger trains across 9 corridors will be increased to 160 to 200 kilometers from 110 kilometers per hour. Passenger carrying capacity would be raised from 21 to 30 million. Track length would grow 20% from 1,14,000 kilometers to 1,38,000 kilometers and annual freight carrying capacity would grow from 1 billion to 1.5 billion tons. 2,000 crores were set aside for coastal connectivity program. Perhaps the most closely watched part of the railway budget, announcements on funding and generation of funds to pull the railways out of massive losses accumulated over years. Prabhu called for an end to the cycle of underinvestment.
Over the next 5 years, we envisage an investment of over rupees 8,50,000 crores, 8.5 lakh crores. Budgetary support is the quickest and the easiest option to finance the plan. But the Ministry of Finance also faces challenges of competing demands, although small initial contribution to railways can be catalytic. But the scale of our investment needs is such that will require us to seek multiple sources of funding.
On this front, the Railways Minister proposed the best operating ratio in 9 years of 88.5% for 2015-16. PPP cell to be revamped to make it result-oriented. To set up Infra Fund joint venture with IRFC for long-term funding. Transport Logistic Corporation of India to be set up to aid expanding freight handling capacity and provide end-to-end logistic solutions. As expected, there was also a strong thrust on government's pet Swachh Bharat campaign, a cleanliness drive for the railways. Swachh Rail, Swachh Bharat, as the minister termed it. Under this, some of the key measures proposed were 7,000 more toilets to be replaced by bio-toilets, new toilets at 650 stations and more vacuum toilets and others. The rail budget will be closely watched for the reform indications as a precursor to the union budget to be presented on Saturday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
All right, for more on this, let's speak to Himanshu Vats, who is the senior editor with the Economic Times, joining us from the capital. Himanshu, thanks so much. Good evening. Give us a sense, really, of what you felt. Prime Minister Modi, of course, calling it futuristic, realistic, rather. But what is the sense that you got?
See, a few things are striking about the budget. One is, a big focus on passenger amenities and comfort and the speed of trains. They have not announced any new trains. He's talked about much more cleanliness and efficiency. What he has spoken about, the speed of trains. There was a lot of talk, how quickly can you have bullet trains, and whether you can do Delhi-Bombay in 4 or 5 hours or something. Now those are mega expensive projects. It is much cheaper to increase the speed gradually, or maybe till up till 200 kilometers an hour. And there I think he's made a very good proposal that where speeds are 100 to 130, that can be increased to 160 to about 200. Now that is possible in the same tracks. You don't have to go through an entire new system. You don't have to acquire land. You don't have to build very costly tracks. The existing tracks can be upgraded and speeds can go up to 200 kilometers per hour. So that's very good for the overall efficiency. Again, for the consumer, for the passenger, you can book trains much earlier, I think around 4 months instead of 2 months, or somewhere in that region. That's also a very good thing, because you have a very odd situation that as soon as booking opens for a train 2 months away, within 2.5 minutes or something, it's already full. So I think it's a very practical budget. He's shown a clear direction that he wants to set the railway system right.
Yes.
And we wish him well.
Absolutely, that of course, because it does sound well, Himanshu, but then, is the opposition right in saying that, all these things, they look very nice, to hear, you do want hygienic railways, you do want better food, you do want better tracks and all of that. But as far as the funding is concerned, there's still no clarity really on where the money is coming from. 8.5 lakh crores is what, the funding is going to be, but that is mostly going to be a lot of borrowings. So is this going to sink the railways into a debt trap? That's the fear, is it?
Look, the railways' finances are not in good shape, but they've been much worse in the past. The yardstick, the indicator for debt trap and the finances is what is called the operating ratio, where you compare how much are you spending and how much revenue are you generating. And that, as your report said, is perhaps the best in the last 9 years or so, at around 88%. It's not a very good ratio, but we've seen it in the 90s, which was really alarming. So one has to, the Railway Ministry will have to keep a very close watch. There are two ways of doing it. One is by increasing revenue. He has spared the passenger class, but
yes,
some of the freight has gone up, in a few commodities, including agricultural commodities. So there is some more revenue coming in. And I think there's a lot of room for better operational efficiency. Then he has, of course, projected some borrowings, which is a concern for some people. But as long as the overall operating revenue is improving, which seems to be the case, at least the direction is right. The finances are still not very good.
Yes.
The level of the operating ratio is not very good, but the fact that it is improving, the direction is, you can take some comfort from that.
All right. Himanshu Vats, thanks so much for joining us with those details there. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as we said, of course, termed the railway budget as futuristic, also passenger-centric. He also said that it lays out a clear roadmap to make the national transporter the key driver of the country's economic growth. He also said that the budget was a watershed moment for the railways, marking a paradigm shift from discussing coaches and trains to comprehensive railway reform. He praised the budget for its focus on the common man, putting speed, scale, service and safety all on one track.
आज का बजट रेलवे के सर्वांगीण विकास को लेकर के आया है। रेलवे मिनिस्टर को हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूं कि वे तत्कालीन वाहवाही के मोह से बचकर के 5 साल की योजना लेकर के आए हैं। पहली बार रेलवे ने फाइनेंशियल डिसिप्लिन और एक्सपेंडिचर में डिसिप्लिन इसकी बात कही है। रेल बजट में सर्वाधिक ध्यान यात्रियों की सुविधा पर दिया गया है, रेलवे की गति पर दिया गया है, टेक्नोलॉजी के अपग्रेडेशन पर दिया गया है और नई नई कल्पनाओं से भरा हुआ सर्वस्पर्शी विकास के हर पहलू को छूने वाला आज रेलवे बजट देश के सामने आया है।
Well, the Prime Minister's praise notwithstanding, mixed reactions are coming in from the political fraternity. While the DMC describes the rail budget as anti-people, the BJP has defended it, saying it's realistic, not populist.
ये full of ideas और imaginary ideas हैं और ये practical implement करने का impossible है।
इस बार भी रेलवे मंत्री ने बहुत नई नई घोषणाएं की हैं, लेकिन जो पिछले साल घोषणाएं की थी उसके बारे में उन्होंने ये नहीं बताया कि उन घोषणाओं को उन्होंने कितना लागू किया है।
बुलेट ट्रेन जो है वो एक अजीब मजाक है भाई। देश भर की रेल जो है उसका ट्रैक खराब है, उसकी सिक्योरिटी खराब है, उसकी खाना खराब है, उसकी भीतर गंदगी है, उसके डिब्बे नहीं बने हैं, कितनी तरह की दिक्कत है, उसको पहले ठीक करो।
There is nothing new in the budget except the introduction of CCTV in order to ensure the protection of women.
मेरे ख्याल से पहली बार ऐसा हुआ है कि एक बजट पेश किया गया है जहां आंकड़े नहीं है, और ये शायद कहना उचित होगा कि नहीं पता नहीं, ये डेमोक्रेसी के खिलाफ है।
पुराने सारे काम पड़े हैं, अब पुराने सारे काम हो जाएं तो सबसे बड़ी उपलब्धि होगी।
ओवरऑल 2-3 चीजें मुझे काफी अच्छी लगी जो महिलाओं के बारे में उन्होंने कहा, और आरओबीस जो है, रेलवे अंडर ब्रिजेस और रेलवे ओवर ब्रिजेस जो है, जिसके ऊपर स्पेशल एम्फोसिस उन्होंने दिया है, वो काफी अच्छा है। बट बाकी के जितने भी उन्होंने बताए बातें वो एंटरटेनिंग ज्यादा थी, लेकिन एक्चुअली फील्ड में कितने तक काम आएंगे मुझे नहीं मालूम।
बजट को करीब 52% तक बढ़ाने का जो साहस किया है रेल मंत्री जी ने, इसके लिए वो बधाई के पात्र हैं।
Meanwhile, in more details, the Indian Railways is expected to soon get an independent regulator on the lines of insurance and airports regulators. The move is intended to ensure transparency in allotting and monitoring PPP projects under implementation.
Therefore, for the purpose of orderly development of infrastructure services, enabling competition and protection of customer interest, it is important to have a regulation mechanism independent of the service provider. It is now proposed to set up a mechanism which will be entrusted with making regulation, setting performance standards and determining tariffs. It will also adjudicate on disputes among licensee, private partners and the ministry, subject to review in appeal.
For the first time, the Rail Minister making a mention of a railways regulator in his budget. The announcement comes at a time when several projects under the public-private partnership model are pending. Prabhu has also assured that his government will resolve all disputes under consideration or implementation. The industry has welcomed the step but has sounded a word of caution.
Well, if he doesn't ensure it is fair to both, he is not independent anyhow. So the fact that it has to be independent, it has to be fair on both sides. By the way, the railway operator is a state operator. So that's why there is a need of regulator, and he mentioned himself.
The independent regulator is expected to secure private sector investments by easing freight transport rules. The industry feels it will fill the void between the industry and the government.
There's been a long pending demand of the industry, and it is similar to the electricity regulator or the coal regulator, so it's similar to that. So therefore, your question about how it will help, it is going to not only help, I think it is going to transform the way the private sector would perceive its investment in operating railway freight infrastructure.
The government may have to introduce a bill to establish a regulator. Existing regulators like Airports Authority of India in aviation and National Highways Authority of India in road transport sector were formed by an act of parliament.
Rail Minister Suresh Prabhu was specially brought in to speed up the public-private partnership models in Indian Railways. By announcing an independent regulator, he has assured the industry that his government is keen on PPP models and PPP projects. His wills are tested in the days to come. With camera person Vijay, Rajkamal Rao, Rajya Sabha TV.
And staying with reactions, even though there's not much in the real budget for the general public, status quo on fares has been welcomed.
आज रेल बजट ने जो टोल फ्री नंबर इशू किया है महिलाओं की सुरक्षा के लिए, तो वो जब तक काम नहीं आ सकती जब उस पर कार्रवाई या फिर सुनवाई नहीं होती है। तो मेरा मानना है कि इसके इशू करने के साथ साथ में हम सब के लिए बहुत जरूरी है कि इस पे कार्रवाई हो।
अगर नीचे की सीट होती है तो वो अच्छी नहीं होती और दूसरे लोग जो आते हैं वो परेशान करते हैं, लेकिन उनकी नज़र ये नहीं पड़ती कि सीनियर सिटीजन है वो अपने आप दे दें, लेकिन वो अच्छी नहीं होती और अगर अच्छी हो जाए तो ज़्यादा बेहतर है।
सुरेश प्रभु ने आज हम लोगों के लिए सबसे ज़्यादा अच्छी चीज़ प्रोवाइड कराई, वो है वाईफाई, क्योंकि हम लोगों को सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत पड़ती है। आजकल हम लोग की सारी पढ़ाई ऑनलाइन है, हम लोग सारी टेस्ट सीरीज से लेकर क्लासेस तक ऑनलाइन ज्वाइन करते हैं। आई थिंक हम स्टूडेंट्स के लिए इससे अच्छी कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं हो सकती।
कि इतना महिलाओं के लिए कर रहे हैं, बहुत अच्छा है।
और इस रिलीफ टू अस बिकॉज कि बहुत अभी हाइक हुआ है प्राइजेस वगैरह ये सारे सब चीजें।
किराया नहीं बढ़ा, वेरी गुड है। किराया ऑलरेडी बहुत ज्यादा हो गया है, बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ गया है। तत्काल टिकट हो गया है, प्रीमियम तत्काल हो गया है। उस हिसाब से हमें फैसिलिटीज नहीं मिली है। पहले आप उसको इम्प्लीकेट करो फैसिलिटीज की तरफ, तब आगे बढ़ाओ। अभी किराया बढ़ाने की कोई जरूरत नहीं मेरे ख्याल से, तो मुझे लगता है।
But the markets reacted with a great deal of concern to the budget announcements. BSE Sensex and Nifty fell nearly 1%, led by profit booking in software stocks like Infosys Limited. Many traders cited worries that the railway budget leans towards populist measures like not increasing heavily subsidized passenger fares, raising concerns about the government's fiscal deficit. The benchmark Sensex plunged by over 261 points, logging its worst fall in 2 weeks to close below the 29,000 key level. News reports in fact said that markets were rife with speculation that the union budget that will be presented on Saturday will also have a populist tilt. Without a quick break here, but still ahead, the corporate espionage case hits the Environment Ministry. More details after this break.
Union Budget 2015-16. How will the Finance Minister's proposals affect your budget? Can he pull down prices? Can he boost the economy? Get answers to all your queries. Call our panel of experts 011-2309-4014, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. through Budget Day on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Let's get you more national news now. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Venkaiah Naidu today clarified his remarks against the opposition. He said that he had not intended to hurt anyone. Remember, on Wednesday, during a discussion on the motion of thanks for the President's address, Naidu had angered the opposition with his remarks taking an apparent dig at Rahul Gandhi and his absence from the House. The opposition benches demanded an apology for the same today.
A united opposition stalled proceedings of Lok Sabha seeking an apology from Parliamentary Affairs Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu for his remarks made on Wednesday, forcing him to say he did not intend to hurt their sentiments. He said he respected all parties and leaders and he had not used any unparliamentary language.
I have no intention to hurt anybody or to defame anybody. I did not have any person in mind or any party in mind. What I made was a general criticism of political nature.
The opposition was led by the Congress party in demanding the apology. The uproar from the opposition benches forced 2 adjournments. Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge said it was the government's responsibility to take all parties along with it.
Senior leader, he should express his regret. क्योंकि अगर नहीं करेंगे तो ऐसा ही चलते जाएगा, ये ठीक नहीं है। और ये सबको इससे कल के दिन क्या होगा, यही प्रैक्टिस होगा और यही चलते रहेगा और ये हम बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे। Let him tell him, and such thing should not happen in this house.
In his intervention yesterday, Naidu had taken an apparent dig at the opposition, saying if they cannot do an introspection in the house, they should go somewhere far to do it. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, the Delhi police made 2 more arrests in the corporate espionage case today. The arrested included Jitendra Nagpal, personal assistant to a joint secretary in the Ministry of Environment and Forests, and Vipin Kumar, personal assistant to a member of the UPSC. With these arrests, the number of people arrested in the case so far has gone up to 16. Meanwhile, the opposition has demanded setting up of a joint parliamentary committee to probe the leak of crucial document of the government.
जो हमने दूसरी एफआईआर दर्ज की थी, उसमें उसकी तफ्तीश के दौरान पता चला था कि ये व्यक्ति भी इस तरह के काम में इन्वॉल्व हैं, तो उसके बेसिस पे इनको पकड़ा गया है। इनसे अब पूछताछ हमारी जारी है।
International news now. In Russia today took a dig at the West, alleging that additional economic sanctions are just meant to cover up the failure of the ceasefire agreement in Ukraine. Russian Foreign Minister's comment comes amid a looming threat of additional sanctions on Russia by the US and the European Union. US Secretary of State John Kerry also said that any attack Mariupol will invite additional economic sanctions on Russia. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian army has started withdrawal of heavy weapons from the front lines in the east. It's seen as the first step towards fulfilling the ceasefire deal.
Думаю, что все очень просто объясняется. Пытаются нагнетать опять истерические настроения, отвлечь внимание от необходимости выполнения Минских соглашений.
And now let's get you more news from across the world in Global Buzz. At least 17 Islamic State militants have been killed in US-led coalition airstrikes in western Iraq. Reports suggest that IS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi had been in the area hours before the airstrikes began. Meanwhile, the identity of a masked man in the IS beheading videos has been revealed. BBC reports that he is Mohammed Emwazi, a Kuwaiti-born Briton known to the UK security services. At least 3 people were killed in a suicide bomb attack on a Turkish embassy vehicle in Kabul today. The suicide bomber also got killed. Shortly after the blast, government officials cordoned off the area fearing a second attack. Taliban has claimed responsibility for this. Further investigations, though, are underway. The death toll in Afghanistan avalanches rose to 180 today. The country was hit by heavy snowstorms for a 3rd day in a row. Officials fear the death toll will go up since rescue personnel are yet to reach the worst affected areas. The first Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, is on life support under intensive care. An official statement came as rumours spread on social media that Lee may have died. 91-year-old Lee was admitted to the hospital on the 5th of February with severe pneumonia. He has receded from public and political scene, but he is still seen as an influential figure for the current government. And a South Korean court today ruled that adultery will not be treated as a crime. By this ruling, the South Korean government has now abolished a 62-year-old law that bans extramarital affairs. The court observed that the previous law suppressed personal freedom and could potentially affect thousands of people who are facing adultery charges since October 2014. According to the court data, over 5,400 people have been indicted on adultery charges between November 2008 to January 2015. On to some cricket action now. In Afghanistan claimed their first World Cup victory with a dramatic 1-wicket win over Scotland. Meanwhile, in the other Pool A match, Sri Lanka defeated Bangladesh by 92 runs. Here's all the details.
It was the second time in this World Cup that 2 non-test match playing sides played out a thrilling match. Batting first, Scotland could not get the partnership going as they kept losing wickets in bundles. None of the batsmen were able to cross the half-century mark as the Scots ended their innings on 210.
Is out, yes, the finger is raised. This was good bowling. Pressure from Afghanistan.
Chasing the target, Afghanistan were reduced to 97 for 7, but Samiullah Shenwari scored a brilliant 96 to get the World Cup debutants closer to the target. He was dismissed with 19 runs required from 19 balls. However, the last pair of Shapur Zadran and Hamid Hassan got their side past a historic win with 3 balls to spare.
Yeah, we're looking forward to beat destination we have dream, and we missed it yesterday of the Sri Lanka. So thanks God we win today.
In the second match of the day, Sri Lanka scored a comfortable 92-run victory over Bangladesh. Tilakaratne Dilshan and Kumar Sangakkara both scored centuries as they built up a 210-run partnership for the second wicket. Sri Lanka finished with a score of 332 for 1.
For a boundary, 400th ODI and a fantastic knock.
Bangladesh started their innings aggressively but lost quick wickets to fall behind in the chase. Shabir Rahman scored a half-century to give some hope, but Bangladesh were finally bowled out for 240 in the 47th over.
Yeah, definitely this is a really important game for us. I think we didn't play our 100% last 2 games. I think this is every department we did really well today. Batting, bowling, fielding, this confidence we can carry rest of the series.
Sri Lanka have 4 points with 2 wins and 1 defeat from 3 matches, while Bangladesh are on 3 points with 1 win, 1 defeat and 1 no result. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, that's it for this hour. From the entire team here, good night.